The Boston Celtics are in a brutal spot. What do they even do from here? Everyone is saying that Jaylen Brown is gone, and everyone's pointing to him saying that he has to be the one. But I think it's actually someone else that needs to go first. And before we talk about that, let's check in on Celtics fans.
I waited so long, bro. They came back from a 3. Bro, they came back from 0 to 3 just to lose. Celtics pride. Jason! It still runs. Jaylen!
So if you didn't know, I'm a Celtics fan, and I was basically that guy being like, what am I watching? It was a complete no-show. The Celtics basically just gave the game to the Heat, and like, at the end of the day, you can't even blame anyone else besides the Celtics. They just choked. They choked. And honestly, that loss was brutal. The Miami Heat flat out wanted it more. And recently, this just came out with Robert Williams.
I'm told that Robert Williams was throwing up during the game. He only played 14 minutes last night. He was coming in and coming out of the game. When he would come out, he would throw up. He was dealing with a stomach virus, a stomach bug that he played through it.
And Malcolm Brogdon was injured, and Tatum rolled his ankle in like the first second of the game. And let me ask you a question. Should any of this have mattered? No, because the Celtics were the better team. And I want to make it very clear. I'm not saying anything about the Miami Heat. They won this series. The Celtics basically gave it to them on a silver platter, and the Heat took it. You got to give them respect for it. And the Heat didn't even like play that crazy. They just did what they needed to do and win the game. They're just a veteran team that's done it before. Really nothing special. They just grind out games. And before I get into my take, I wanted to give an honorable mention to Jimmy Butler and Caleb Martin. I just want everyone to know, Jimmy Butler is my favorite player that's on the Celtics. This is the guy that every basketball player should aspire to be like. He's tough, he's gritty, he knocks down shots when he needs to, kind of cocky. Just absolutely love him. And Caleb Martin? Are you kidding me? This man was insane. In my mind, he was the best player on the floor a lot of the time, like over Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. And he should have won the Eastern Conference Finals MVP over Jimmy Butler. Butler got 5 votes and Caleb got 4. I actually think he kind of got robbed. But let's hear from Jaylen Brown.
Have you been able to kind of think about your future here and what you're hoping for?
I expected to win today and move on, and that's what my focus was on. That's what my focus has been on. We failed, I failed, and it's hard to think about anything else right now, to be honest. We'll cross that bridge when we get there.
And let me tell you, if you're going to take the temperature of the sports world or the Celtics fandom, they're all ready for Jaylen Brown to go elsewhere. And I think it's kind of like a dumb argument on a certain level, but I also agree with it, because here's why. Number one, Jaylen Brown is set to make an insane amount of money. After Brown was named to the All-NBA second team for the 2022-23 season, it triggered his eligibility Supermax contract extension this offseason. Brown was extension eligible regardless of his All-NBA status, but the Supermax extension gives Boston a significant chance to retain him, because the Boston Celtics will be able to offer a lot more money than everyone else. We're talking $100 million actually. The offer will include a 5-year, $295 million contract. And if you're ready to throw up, here's what the extension would look like. In the 2024-25 season, $50 million. 25-26, $54 million. 26-27, $58 million. 27-28, $62 million. And 28-29, a whopping $66 million, which would make him the highest paid player in the league. Good Lord. And reportedly, this is most likely going to happen per Brian Windhorst. In his words, in talking to people on both sides, I think there's a very good chance they're going to find ground on that. And then to make matters worse, Tatum's coming up next year, and you obviously need to pay him, but his contract is a little bit more. It's somewhere around $318 million, which would make the duo the 1 and 2 highest paid players in the league. Unreal. I just can't wrap my head around the fact of Jaylen Brown being like a top 5 paid player in the NBA, because he's not top 5 good, but he's like almost there, like top 15-ish. End of the day, the issue is that if they get someone else over Brown, how many players in the league are better than Jaylen? Like 15, maybe 20? And the teams won't trade the 1 through 5 guys for anything, because they're just like unbelievable. And then like the 5 to 10 guys probably won't be traded for Jaylen Brown 1-for-1. They'll probably need to be him and picks, which I'm like not opposed to do. I'm just trying to paint a picture here. Jaylen Brown's a pretty good basketball player. And here's the moment you all been waiting for. This is what I think the Celtics should do. It's time for them to move on from Marcus Smart. Like I said, I'm a Celtics fan. I have loved his time in Boston, and I don't even think he's a bad player. It's just time. He's a great player, and honestly, a leader on this team, but it's just time to shake it up. He thinks he's Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown, and he just isn't. I love how hard he plays and everything, but it's just time. This is a perfect example of how coaches get fired that are still very good, but the team needs to shake it up in the locker room or have a different voice to kind of command the locker room, and this is that. Marcus Smart is a leader in the locker room, and they just gotta remove him to kind of show the guys, hey, you gotta play better or you're gonna get traded. And honestly, is the team better without Marcus Smart? I don't think so. And do I really want them to trade Marcus Smart? Not really. But I would rather them trade Marcus Smart than get rid of Jaylen Brown for all the reasons I mentioned. Jaylen Brown is a top 20 best player in the league. Marcus Smart is not that. Even though he's like an engine, that he's a really good player, there's a ton of guys you could put in the Marcus Smart role. There's just not as many guys in the Jaylen Brown. He's just a really good basketball player. In my mind, the most logical situation is move on Marcus Smart, keep Jaylen Brown, run it back with the Jays, give him more veteran presence and maybe more shooters, like actual shooters around the perimeter, and let them do their thing and see how it goes. It's gonna be crazy when you see Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum making $500 million. We'll see what happens.